Hey everyone. Wow, that's a lot of listening. Thank you so much for all of your attention so far. If you can do me a favor, what we're going to do is get everybody to stand up real quick for me. Alright, now beyond that, I need to have you trust me for about 2 seconds. I'm going to close our eyes and I'll just go through this little process together. So I'm going to say something and then you're going to repeat it. Kind of like Simon Says. Close your eyes. Alright. I will win this Arcterx jacket after this presentation that changes my life. Sounds good. Alright, open your eyes. Beautiful. That was easy. Set the tone. Now it's just a countdown. Once the presentation's over, you know that you're probably going to be the one walking away with that jacket. Great, so what I'd like to do is kind of just quickly assess who we have in the building as far as different skill levels and different experience levels. So first off, if the people that are here that have already rock climbed outside before think it's amazing and are here to support the community, please put up your hands. Awesome. That's great. That's why these people are amazing, because they come to events like this even when they know all this stuff and they want to support other people that don't know. Alright, so next up we want to see some other people. And what we're kind of looking for is things that, that usually create these hurdles to stop us from going outside. So if any of you feel like going outside climbing with your current experience level is dangerous, put up your hands. Great. There's a couple of you that are definitely in the right place for this talk and for this event. Thank you for coming. Next up is one that's tricky. It kind of becomes this big monster of things, but how many of you don't feel ready? And by that I mean you'd rather do a little more work in the gym, get a little stronger. Outside's got some difficult climbing. Maybe that's holding you back. Or we can add to that and say how many people don't feel like you have enough experience or the right equipment. Let's just keep building this big hurdle. Awesome. That's great. Thank you so much for participating. Participating. A little tongue twister. We've been talking a lot today. We can all sit down, relax a little bit, and we'll get started. What I'd like to first go over is what a hurdle looks like. We all know hurdles to look like this. They're about 3 feet tall. People jump over them in a track at high speeds, right? The challenge is that in climbing, sometimes when we want to go outside, we create bigger hurdles in our mind. They look a lot more like this, right? And the challenge is that these hurdles are all wrapped up in the way that we've seen climbing, the way our friends talk about climbing, and expose us to the activity. So what my goal is to demonstrate how these hurdles are actually really, really small. And how I'm going to do that is I'm going to confuse you, and then I'm going to teach you how to change your focus. Because the problem with this hurdle is we're looking at the wrong things. Normally, when we go outside, we don't think of this. This is a mother top roping while pregnant. This is not something we normally see publicized on the media, but it happens. She's not alone either. I know several women that buy full body harnesses and climb while pregnant until almost full term and delivery. And what does that tell you from like a stats and a numbers perspective? These women aren't looking to risk their lives. They're looking to come home on Sunday night for dinner and go to work the next week and enjoy climbing for what it is, which is a possible safe activity if you know what you're doing. If we go further, there's some babies at the crag. Another photo that you don't really see in climbing magazines and you don't really see posted on the 6 o'clock news. These exist, these babies at the cliff, but they're not really promoted. So I guess what I'm getting at is, unfortunately, we have families that go climbing without a care in the world, successfully go home no problem, but what we really notice outside is photos like this. Some guy that decides to do some beautiful climb with a beautiful backdrop without a rope. And this gets publicized everywhere. Or maybe, if it's not without a rope, it's with a rope, whoops, one slide too many. It's with a rope, but he's taking a very large fall. Like, exceptional fall, we'll say. How many times do you think you'll take that climbing outside ever in your life? Probably none. So, what I'd like to suggest is that these ideas of what outdoor climbing represents are possible avenues, but not the only ones. What's interesting is, from a personal story, this is what I confronted with my own father, and that was, he only saw climbing outside or inside as something that you continually fell at and risked your life. And it was only when I started working in the climbing industry and he came to my work, which also was a climbing gym, he saw these ropes hanging from the top and said, "What kind of climbing is that?" And I said, "Well, it's top rope, it's the safest." And what was interesting is he tried climbing and he loved it because he had that opportunity to try an easier climb and do it in a safe manner where he could never fall. So what I recommend is you consider this when you go outside as your main form of climbing for a while. Respect the terrain and understand that you're going into a different environment, and that requires a little crossover. If you notice, there's no pink holds on this wall. There's no clear path, and there's all sorts of stuff that you're going to have to figure out that you're not used to and the gym doesn't teach you. So having that top rope and dealing with one new element at a time, it's going to make it a lot safer. And it's going to change the size of that earlier hurdle we saw into something tiny, something really small, right? That's what we're aiming for. Now we quickly got all those hands up, and one of the other hands was up for difficult climbing. Now that's a big hurdle, right? A lot of us don't feel fit. And we see these climbing magazines and we see all these different moves, and even our friends, right? Like, how valuable are you at the gym if you climb 5'6", right? No one's really bragging about the last time they did a 5'6". They're always going for that higher number. How hard can you push, and how much is that worth in your friend's conversation? And I think the challenge is, when we think of things like this, Sasha DeJulian, one of the best climbers in the world, she's resting upside down, right? It's not a maneuver that we really practice in the gym. Definitely a cool climb outside, but not something that we really wanted to limit us or focus on as what's available. We could go to the other side. We have someone like Chris Sharma. Don't get me wrong, this is a beautiful photo and pretty much shows the anatomy of someone flexing every muscle in their body all at once. I'd say it looks like the hardest climb in the world, and interestingly enough, it is. But the beautiful part about climbing outside is that you can have beautiful rock climbs like that are 515C, and then you can have beautiful rock climbs like this that are 5'4". And what's interesting about climbs like this is they're just as much fun. When you go outside, it's very different, right? Because if we think about it, inside gets frustrating because sometimes those 5'4s, they never change the rocks, they're in a corner, they're really dirty, every kid's burped and snotted on them as they climbed up it in a birthday party. It wasn't really as much fun, and the holes aren't rotated as much. When we go outside, we get really beautiful climbs because now Mother Nature gets to carve those 5'4s just as much as she carves the harder routes. So there's that opportunity to try something easier and approach it safely. I think that you can see that those two big hurdles kind of got chopped down pretty quick. There was danger. We can solve that by easily adding a top rope. And then there was difficulty, which we can solve by just going to an easier grade in the difficulty system. Next up, I want to go over a trickier one, and that is our motivation. And I think that when I'm talking about motivation here, I think of the reference point of a movie like Rocky. So when you're watching something like Rocky, which is a story of someone that puts an enormous amount of effort and does not let his predisposed condition stop him from what he truly wants, right? And it's an inspiring movie, and a lot of people that watch it for the next 2 weeks are filled with the same motivation that Rocky has. So they do sit-ups and chin-ups and run everywhere to work and back, and they start getting fit, but it starts to fade and dwindle and then stop. And the issue is that motivation is a projected mirror of Rocky, but it's not really from within. Because if you think about it, this person that watched and did all these extra activities, They didn't have a big fight coming up or what Rocky really wanted and was working for. So what we have to do is we have to find out why we're doing something in order for that motivation to last more than 2 days or 2 weeks. And that's what we're going to talk about next, because that's actually the most important. Sorry, I'm just going through these pages. There's a lot of different stuff going on here. We got a little crazy, and I also didn't organize. Bear with me. Next slide. Why? Well, what do you know? When you should staple something and you don't. That's right. Okay, so back on track. The way I'm going to approach talking about motivation is by telling you what my motivations are. Because I feel like if there's one way to become more confident at what you're doing, it's by understanding that why and really, really digging deep as to what are the things that make you want to do something. My why goes into 3 different things when it comes into climbing. The first one is physical interaction with the environment. But we need a warning first. Before we see this picture, you need to understand that when you hear this why, you'll probably never be the same again. So like most warnings you've read, please proceed cautiously. If you need, Arcterx may have some earmuffs in the back, and we could just strap a t-shirt over your eyes to make sure you don't see anything. Anybody? No, you'll proceed? Sounds good. Alright. Physical interaction with the environment is something like this. What's interesting is these are landscape photos that you'd normally be really interested in and seeing in an art museum. But with climbing, you actually get to climb them and interact with them, right? Like this is Mother Nature's sculptures. And instead of staring at it behind a glass and paying admission, you use effort and you get to play as long as you like. And what's neat is every single sculpture is different, and it's in the most outstanding and stunning backdrop you'd ever imagine. Sounds pretty good, right? That's why we all want to go outside. If we go beyond that, climbing offers a secondary amazing thing to consider, and that is goal setting. My apologies, the photo's a little dark, but this route is the first 14A I ever did. It took 4 years and over 80 attempts to complete. When you write a goal on a piece of paper saying, I want to floss every day, it's really hard for that, at least for me, for that to jump out at me and motivate me to follow through and floss every single day. But when you take a picture or see a climb like this in person, it changes you. And what's neat about rock climbs is that climb is never going to change my entire life. And once I complete it, all that work I invested is something that I alone can truly enjoy and be grateful to have invested. That is the second main reason. We want to go to the third one. Third one is really big because that's the people, right? Climbing is really, really amazing because what it does is it removes all of our superficial social fronts. And to be detailed, there are no doctors or window washers or unemployed people. There's people that want to climb, there's people that don't want to climb. And those are the only 2 kinds of people you deal with. And normally, you don't see the ones that don't want to climb outside. So you're in an environment where no matter your language, your experience level, your background, you get to enjoy people openly supporting you, helping you learn things you don't know how to do, and pushing your perceived limits a lot further. That's an amazing experience to share with people, and it's neat because it opens them at a level that you've never seen before. There's no context of I'm a doctor or I'm this big person or anything like that. Everybody is equal. Going from there, what I'd really like to do is close with this little practice experiment I created to share my first life-changing climbing experience. So if you could bear with me, I would love it if you could just close your eyes for a second. I'm just going to take you there, okay? All right, you're in your harness, you're outside, and you just got to the anchors on your top rope climb. It took about 45 minutes, and you look down, and you can barely see the holes that you climbed up. But you've gotten there. Somehow you're sitting there. And as you sit and rest on your harness, you notice how fast your heart is racing. It's exhilarating. You're 60 feet off the ground. As your breathing relaxes, you start to hear more and more. The birds are chirping, and it seems like their nest must be pretty close by, because you can hear them in full stereo. As you hear the birds, you feel a breeze actually blow you back and forth against the wall, gently, with a fresh, cool air. You realize that's a lot different than the gym. I don't feel the wind in the gym. And that makes you start looking around, and you look up to see that there is no ceiling, but just endless sky above you. And then you turn around, and you see in the distance, you see the CN Tower. And that makes you realize two things. One, Toronto and the surrounding area is very flat. Two, 60 feet up is an amazing vantage point of a view. You are actually in a living environment right now and getting to watch a bird's eye view. As you breathe and suck it all in, one thing comes to mind. This is awesome. And as you say it, you realize you finally found a proper thing to use that word for. This experience is going to be with you and make you hunt and search for more experiences like this for the rest of your life. Open your eyes. I call it analog virtual reality, or imagination if you like. Thank you for participating. That, in fact, was my first experience climbing outside. All the glory, all of that epiphany, and the 17 years that's ensued was because of that day. There's two takeaways I really want you to get from that experience, and hopefully have the same, if not more valuable experience when you first go outside. One is, I needed to learn the skills in order to go outside. Outside didn't come to me. I had to find resources, and I had to learn skills before anyone was going to take me outside, because they understood it was a dangerous environment, and if I didn't have skills, I was a risk to myself and to people around me. The second important thing that I really think is a must to take away is that I top roped my entire first day. There's this lead pressure that unfortunately exists in our community where leading is somehow better than top roping. We make fun of top ropers as if it's some lesser form of climbing. And I find that I was even offered lead climbing that day, and what's interesting is if I had lead climbed that day, I would not have gotten to the top. And this is why you need to put your phones on vibrate. Right? You go like this, no big deal. That's how you do it. Whether it's in a movie theater, a presentation, we just roll with it. So, the second thing, as I was saying, is top rope. What we need to do is we need to top rope the first day so that we remove that danger element. Enjoy the other things. Listen to those birds. Have a good day without fearing that you could fall or get hurt or anything like that. Those are the 2 points I'd really hope you take away from it. I think that you can see from this presentation, this event, that my goal in life now is actually to contribute and give back to the climbing community, to somehow scratch at the surface of all that it's given me. And for me, that makes me feel so happy for every minute I can spend on this. And what I really want you to consider is that by going outside, you'll happily be spending your minutes as well. Thank you so much.